comes to my mind. It's Jude 21, and it says, staying right at the center of God's love, keeping your arms open and outstretched, ready for the mercy of our Master, Jesus Christ. This is unending life, the real life. And I think about you because her arms are they're so open and outstretched towards us, towards women who she's never met in her life. And like even this morning, she's just walking around and, zigzagging through the tables, talking to you and taking videos of you. To me, that's the love of God. That's real life.
Oh,
and
thank
so
you.
I appreciate that about you, MaryJo.
I love you. Okay. One thing I was thinking while I was sitting back there listening and watching you all is I came here today because I have a mission. My mission, God told me, have you ever loved the way you've been loved here? And I said, no, it's impossible. I'm a human. Like I had to tell my omnipotent creator that. And then he said with a stronger hug, you can do better. And to me, love has many different faces. For example, that didn't only mean that I had to focus on putting my daughters, my husband first. That meant I had to start rearranging everything in my life. How do I express love? If I were to tell each of you that your job going forward after this talk is to love more, what would you start thinking? Does that mean I have to love other people more? I have to hug them more? I have to kiss them more? I have to make more time for them? Or maybe your expression is going to be, I have to quit expecting perfection from myself and from other people. I need to let go of more. I need to, if you really were a loving person, would you get all frazzled and worried over the things you get frazzled and worried about? Or would you let God be God and do his job and not get in his way? Rather, use yourself as an instrument. You are all just instruments. You're really nothing. We're all just grains of sand in a unbelievable universe. I mean, the more you travel, the more you see what a speck you are. But that speck is full of God. You're created with him, and he's in you. And if I can give you any hope or any encouragement, it's that look for areas in your life where you withhold love. Who are you keeping a grudge against? What are you saying? Our country's very divided. Who is it in your heart that you just aren't going to go that extra mile for? Because they don't deserve it. They hurt you once, or they hurt your dad or somebody in the family. I mean, if you're going to withhold love, you better really think about what that means. Because that's a big, probably, I'm not God, of course, but compassion is a very important thing. And being open and loving. It's easier for me because now I'm sure, I have no doubt, I know there is a God. About heaven, I can't go there because my sister said, maybe you were just in a holding bin, like purgatory. My family's very Catholic, and they're like, maybe you weren't all the way in. Because I'm like, they keep saying, did you see golden stairs? No. Did you see this? No. And then my one sister came to the conclusion, I bet you were in a holding place, like purgatory. Like you needed more prayers. And I'm like, no doubt. Keep sending me back. I'm sure of that. So, with what Donna was saying for young moms to appreciate the seasons, if I had any advice for young moms, I would say, it ain't all this. It ain't all today. This does not matter in the scheme of life. So many times I put an urgency on, I got to do it now. I'll mess them up for life. You have many chances to mess them up for life, believe me. And it's not when they're little. You will get opportunities, believe me. You can write to me and say, is this going to mess them up for life? And I'll probably reassure you, no. because I made a lot of big mistakes. And as you can see, my youngest daughter, she's not totally messed up. I mean, she's okay. Like, she's like all of us. We all have. They tell me all the time now, you should have never done that, Mom. And I'm like, you're right, probably. But we all make mistakes, and I'm as human as you all are. Very much so.
You know, when you were talking about compassion, one of the things that I learned is and what mercy is compassion. Mercy is kindness. And I think before you can really extend it to somebody else, you need to be kind and merciful and compassionate towards yourself, like you said, and not expect perfection from yourself. I think that's what caused so much stress in my life for a long time, was that I was a perfectionist. And so it also caused me to put unrealistic expectations on other people.
Right.
And you know what, you just kind of come to a point in your life where it doesn't happen overnight, but you make a pact with yourself. You know what, I'm going to believe and exercise my faith to get over this, and not be like this anymore. And for me, but also for the people that are close to me, it's not fair for them.
Oh, I really appreciate that, because I have the same thing. When you have it's not relationships that mess us up. It's the expectations we hold about the relationship. I expected you to know this. I expected you to do better. And we do it to ourselves. And I think along with the whole idea of what we're going to talk about, inner confidence and body image, I think what's happening in our world today with social media, as well as what we're teaching young women, especially at home, about their body and the narrow standard of beauty, like she's beautiful, she's not, and then how we nitpick each other. We're all sisters. How did we fall into this trap of picking on each other and deciding who was beautiful or qualified or popular and who was not? And we have to remind ourselves, because our daughters are watching us all the time. And those daughters, what you say to yourself becomes your daughter's inner voice. And it's something, when you hear those tapes like fat thighs or what do they call those? Cow ankles or whatever they call those. I don't even know. Yeah, cankles. That's what it was. My
granddaughter has cankles, and she's only 18 months.
Right. Well, you know what? We got those messages from our mothers, and now we tell it to ourselves, and we must stop. It has to stop somewhere. If you're going to talk bad about your body, first of all, you shouldn't. And second, don't do it in front of your daughters, because they remember. And don't do it in front of your sons, because your son will be judging their wife depending on your cankles or what you felt about your thighs. So we just must stop, and we must stop and do it to ourselves as well as others.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to go into any of that PowerPoint, or I have got questions for you, but if we want to head into
I would kind of like to, I don't know if it's possible to just do a hands with you all. If you would want to say, I brought a PowerPoint, we could go through it very quickly, or we could just do like we did last night and resume the questions and talk. And either way, through the PowerPoint or whatever, you all can be part of that. You can raise your hand, or we can just get off on a topic. I'm not set in any way. I want to give you what you need most. So...
Well, I have a question. Can I ask a question? And it's a video question.
Okay.
And so if we could roll that, I think it's the very first one on there. I think I had a rough day, and I think that's why I asked this question. I think I was struggling with something.
Okay. Oh, great.
So listen, I'm pretty much of an open book. So are we ready? Can we show that?
Hi, MaryJo. I have a question for you this morning. Why do women tend to be so catty and competitive and always trying to size you up or one-up you? That's really disconcerting.
Yeah, obviously.
I love that. Well, actually where that comes from, and this is interesting because we did a video for one of my YouTubes about how to respond to mean, catty people. And we found there was a lot of research behind that video, in that we found out that people that do that usually are very insecure, and they do that as a way of leveling the playing field. They most of the time have a model who did that. It's usually a parent or someone very close to the family, and they do it to other people. So they just adopt that kind of a stance. And mostly, if you can remember that people who do that to you do it to everyone. So number one, you don't take it personal. You could if you hear them being cattied about you, you overhear it, you can just walk up and interrupt and say, since you guys are talking about me, can I be part of the conversation? And I think that if you have the guts, that is the very best way, because they don't know what to do with that. And it just stops them in their track. And usually the people who are listening to them will move away, because they don't want to even be able to be recognized. They don't ever want you to see them again or know who they were. Very rarely will they confront you back. I think that's the best thing. The other thing is, if you can, remove yourself from it. Don't go tell somebody else, because then you're spreading the poison. You don't want to spread poison. You want to note it and just know this person is not a happy camper, and stay away from them. Don't trust them with other information. And if you ever hear someone talking about someone you love, whatever you do, don't repeat it to the person you love or the person that was talking about them. Anytime you take what you heard and you pass it on, you're giving the negative more volume to grow. And you're embracing it yourself. Your brain isn't good. It basically hears information, and it's not good at discerning which should stay and which should let go. You took that on then. That's in you then. You don't want it in you. Just avoid it. Yeah. So, but it's mostly a call for help from them.
Is it? Well, that's good. Well, good. I needed to hear that.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yes. Well, just know, and they don't pick on people who aren't strong. I mean, in a school, they'll bully and they'll gang up in groups. But people, if you're living a very narrow, limited life, if you just get up in the morning and you stay home and look at birds, the movers and shakers are the ones getting the most talked about. So if you're a mover and shaker, I can guarantee you people are going to be negative.
That's interesting.
It's a good thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Take it as a badge
moving
of honor.
and keep shaking. That's what I say,
That's
Donna.
good. You used the word bullying, and I had a young, I think she's high school girl, submit a question that says, how do you deal with bullying as a Christian?
Oh, and that is because most of the bullying now is coming through cyberspace. You know, it's basically happening in emails and things like that. And when the person can't see you, you have more of a tendency to be really mean, because you may not be mean face to face, but on social media you will. As a Christian, I just remember when Jesus said, you turn your face. If they slap you on one cheek, you just turn the other. I'm more of a person that I just dismiss them, because I don't want the negativity that comes with it. Like, I don't want to give it any power. If there's someone who is a bully or does a shooting, for example, I will never say their name, because I will not give them any more power or influence than they did a terrible, violent act. And bullying is that way too. You don't want to talk about the bully to other parents. You want to warn parents, but you don't want to mention names.
That's really good.
We're just now understanding how that brain chemistry changes, and he hears a name and how much power you start automatically. The parent will become fearful of them, because it's just saying their name and attaching the bullying to them makes them more intimidating. And you never want to give them that power.
That's really good. I'm just going to share this. I know, being in the ministry, we will get, sometimes hate mail. And I immediately want to respond and defend myself.
Yes.
And I realized that I can't do that. My daughter actually told me, Mom, don't give them the power.
That's
ignore
right.
it. And I'm like, oh, yes, sweet daughter.
Well, yes. Well, I don't know if you all hear about, if you follow Joel Osteen or any of that, but you know, when we have that terrible floods with the Harvey hurricane, his ministry was completely closed. And several people began a Twitter storm that almost ruined his platform. Mm-hmm. They were saying terrible things, and Serena can tell you on Twitter as well. It was unbelievable. And what they did is they never responded. The wife did it first. She began defending it, mm-hmm. and a couple of the parishioners did. That only fueled it. Mm. It made it 10 times worse. It made him even look worse. He just stayed quiet. Mm-hmm. And then when he did mention it, he said it was a misunderstanding. There's much more to it than what it was said. And he tried to undo damage that people trying to defend him caused. Yeah.
That's great advice. That's
it was a very good lesson for mm-hmm. how to withstand that.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think we all need to do that and not respond so quickly.
Yeah, I think taking a breather and reassessing things is something we all need to do in this very urgent world.
My mother-in-law actually taught me, go ahead and respond, but don't hit send. Sleep on it, and then when you get up the next morning, it's not as big of a deal. You know, it's a new day.
But it
seems
I
don't send it.
But it is hard because I think a lot of times now this social media, because it's so quick, it makes us start feeling we're all in we're in a hurry. Where are we going, you guys? I mean, don't you just wake up some days and go, why am I so excited or urgent about what is happening? Mm-hmm. Like, where is this coming from? It's just a very high level of stress, I think.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, look, can we show another video? We'll take live questions, but do we have another video question? I would like to go ahead and show that.
Hi, Mary Jo. My name is Denise. My question is, how do you deal with yourself when you're constantly analyzing your actions and your conversations?
Wow, analysis paralysis. That's a really, yeah, that's what that's called. It's actually something that happens to people when they're, when you're really anxious. Many times you'll begin censoring everything within yourself. Oh, that sounded stupid. How did that come across? Was that stupid? And the best way to shut it off, it's a very difficult thing to shut off, first of all. But the best way to do it is to start aligning at least 30 minutes a day with someone who you don't feel the pressure to censor with, and have time with that person. Once you get into that type of thing, you're living a false life. Like you're limiting how great you really are. So it makes it more difficult because you're basically approving yourself or you're not. Mm. And when you're approving yourself, you're at your dullest. It's just like it's shutting down that light inside. Mm-hmm. So, but it's very common. And it's very common with people who are in high-level jobs, usually.
That's good.
They have more of a tendency to do it.
I like that. So, analysis is paralysis. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. I have a question here before we get on to some maybe live questions. Somebody submitted, anonymous person submitted, I have struggled with feeling like I'm a failure and not being good enough my whole life. How would you help me to overcome this mindset?
Well, you know, first of all, that mindset is developed very early in childhood. And you'll see a lot of these things I say it came from your parents or when you were growing up. That's because it really does. What your parents say to you and your effort to please them and their response back to you basically can start teaching you that. Or you can, as you're going through high school, junior high, you start comparing yourself to other kids and for some reason you feel less than. And what happens is if you feel like you're never good enough, there's something that happened in your life. Maybe you were abandoned by someone close to you, or you were made to feel like you weren't worthy of love. The only way you can start filling that back up is to take care of and love yourself. That means more self-care for you. As a young person, usually that's not the time when you're going to have self-care. That's when you need a parent giving you and teaching you how to self-care. But if you have a parent who is using food to find comfort, or drugs or smoking to find comfort, or drinking, then you're never going to get those coping skills you know. So you grow up as a young woman not knowing how to cope with stressors, not feeling ever that you're efficient or capable. So the best thing you can do is take on challenges where you can actually try maybe small steps that make you feel successful, and then from there build up to other things. It really helps if you have a good group of friends who can remind you how really the things you are really good at. If you don't know things that you're good at, ask a small child, and they'll tell you because they're so honest. But I think it's mostly comes from building up that inner person in you. Get a better relationship with God. Work on your relationship with God. And you know, how many of you talk to God every day? You talk to him? That's so important. Include him in your life. When you set the dinner table, make a place for Jesus. When you're in your car, let him sit in the passenger side. He doesn't take a lot of room, and talk to him. That is prayer at its simplest form. Jesus wants to hear you. He wants to know he's part of everything. And the more you include him, the more he's going to help you see and fill that space in you that is empty. What you don't want to do is find a person or a date or a partner to try and fill that space. That's a big mistake, and unfortunately, a lot of women do it. And they end up finding someone that takes advantage of that space.
That's really good. This next video question, I think, can kind of shoot off of this a little bit.
Okay.
So I want to go ahead and show that. Can we show that third video question? Awesome.
Hi, I'm Patricia, and I am a single divorced mom, and the father is no longer in the picture. I do this all by myself, except on the weekends. I do drop my son off with my parents every weekend. Am I selfish as a parent?
She's a single mom.
She's a single mom?
And she takes care of her kids all by herself.
Wow.
And she drops her kids off at her parents on the weekend.
Go for you. That's wonderful. I think that's fantastic. And oh my goodness. No, it is not selfish. That is the most wonderful thing you can do for your baby, is to take a break. In fact, if you want a healthy baby, healthy babies, healthy husband, take a break, ladies. Come on. You need it. You deserve it. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is a way of loving you so you can love others. I cannot say that enough. We are a generation, we are a gender of always caring for someone else. And I think that's great, but that's going to run out if you don't take care of you. Today is all about self-care. When you go home from here, what you're able to conceive from this program this weekend and what you're able to enact in your life is going to be part of your mission. Within that mission, leave a spot for self-care. Self-care actually generates brain growth. And we've seen it especially as women get older. Women who take better care of themselves, their brain is more free to evolve. There's less stress. They do deal with stress better. They can think better. They maintain their memories better. You need a break. Please take a break.
I love that. That's awesome. That's worth the whole weekend, Patricia, wasn't it? You just got free.
Yeah, you are doing fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, get ready for your questions, but we got one more video, and then we're going to take some live questions.
Yes,
is that good, MaryJo?
that's fantastic.
Okay, last question. No last question. Okay.
Okay.
I will ask the last question.
Okay.
Oh, this is really good. When people need to be validated frequently, how do you deal with them without getting exhausted or frustrated with them?
Wow. Okay, so there can be two parts to this. I'm going to just address the pathological part first, okay? The first part of that is there is part of a population that has something called OCD. And basically, when you have that, you need constant reassurance. Like, it's never enough. And these people, you'll know because they ask for it constantly. Like, they're going to go in for a scan. They have something abnormal came up on their blood test or whatever, and then they'll keep going to one person and saying, do you think this is cancer? And you'll say, no, I don't think so. I think, you're probably not eating enough iron, knowing you. And then they'll go to you again, do you think this is a cancerous thing? No, I think it's an iron thing. And finally, you just get exacerbated with it, like, I don't know what you have. Yes, you probably have cancer. And then they'll freak out. But this constant reassurance is part of OCD. And you cannot, it's a necessary part for them. They need medication and they need mental health care. Now, there's these other kind that is, they're just an empty vase. And not empty in the sense that you go, that person is really messed up. No, there's like a crack in the vase and water's leaking out. And so they just need more guidance. My youngest sister was like that. She was like that. In high school, she would go up to my mother. My mother was an old mom. Like, she had me when she was 40. She had my sister when she was 44. So she was already in her 60s, and she would ask my mom, does this outfit look okay? And I would say, Lisa, you're asking Mom? She's 60. You're 13. Like, I think you should come to me. I'm your sister. Like, I think I would know more. But, they just need that. And she always was that way. Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Are you think you're okay? You sure? And by the time she's done, I'm like, no, I'm really not sure I'm okay. I hate your driving. I mean, it would just drive you to the end of your rope. That's what these people do. I can tell you, she is much better now. She's had 2 children, and they're grown up, and they're in college. And she doesn't have, she does a little bit, but it's mild. It's like she's finally found that confidence. It's a lack of self-confidence. And everybody has a time for that. Usually when people lack self-confidence, it has to do a lot with either they're the baby of the family, or they're just someone who's always needed extra attention. So the parent automatically jumps in to try and help, but then they create these children, young adults, who don't know what to do without approval. And whereas if you grew up with a parent who kind of let you go and figure out mistakes and fail the way you're supposed to learn, then you have less of a tendency to need that guidance and those reassurance from the outside. People who grow up like that, many times it's disastrous because they can be followers and they follow the wrong people. Or they can be people who give their whole purpose or their reason or their validation to other people to decide. And you don't want that either. You never want whether or not you're good enough to rest in another person's hands. You never want them to be your decider.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Miss Denise is going to walk around with her microphone. If you have a question, raise your hand. Isabel, go ahead and stand up, please.
Hi, my name is Isabel.
Yeah.
This is a family question. I have a child that knows, how should I say it? You have a parent that loves his child so much. And I love my child too. But this child knows that he can get his way with his dad. So he bypasses me, goes to his dad and gets his way, and makes me and my husband argue about stepping on my toes. How do I stop that?
Okay, that's not your child's fault. That's you and your husband's communication issue. So what I would do, Isabel, I would sit down with my husband and I would tell my husband that what he's doing, maybe not even understanding it, and what you're participating with is allowing him to make these vital choices instead of the two of you as a couple. And it's really important because your husband could end up feeling very bad if your child, as he gets older, finds out that he only needs his dad's approval and his dad is busy and just kind of says something back like, yeah, sure, okay, not really thinking about it, and then your son gets in a lot of trouble. So you want to be able, this is between you and your husband. It's not the child. So one thing you can tell your husband is when he comes to him and wants clearance or the answer, that your husband just learn to say, let me talk to your mother first. This is going to put a boundary that the child can see directly. It's going to make a very direct boundary. It's going to bring back your power as being the other half of your husband. And then in private, you guys talk about it, and then you deliver it together. But it takes a deliberate move on your husband's part.
Okay, I already do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? If your husband is the father, I think he is, because it sounds like he's very involved. If you tell him you talk to a mental health caregiver about it, and she said, and then Isabel, take my card and just call me the next time that happens, and I will visit with him and help him understand, because sometimes that just helps a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have spoken with a mental care professional.
Yes, I think it always helps a little bit. You know, they kind of get on that side.
Okay, hi, my name is
Hi.
Adolia.
What is it?
Adolia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you,
Okay.
Adolia. Okay, so last night you were describing somebody who is verbally abusive or emotionally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a person like that in our family,
Mm-hmm.
and he's probably not ever going to be gone. Sometimes we're like, Lord, why did you bring him into our family? We pray about it a
Yeah.
lot. But how do you go about reaching someone like that? Like, how do you get them to see, maybe? I mean, because the way they were brought up was really bad.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of issues there. But, like, how do you reach that person? I mean, if they're not going away, how do you reach that person?
Well, you know, the one thing I've learned very early in my career is you cannot change other people. You can only change you. You can pray for him, but you're not going to be able to change him. But you can change how you all react. You can talk to the other family members and make an intervention. And if he's over and he starts any of the assault at your home, you just all walk away. You all, so that it's very clear what is happening. If he's got a wife that is related to you, it is really helpful if you can take her with you. And I think just going outside or going out for a coffee or moving to another room of the house, they usually will pick up on it fast. These people always get angrier before they change. And so you have to be ready for that. But before you make a move like that, as an intervention with a family, you need to talk to the person from your family who is with this person, because they have to want his healing as well. If that person stays with him and the rest of the family moves away, then basically it's going to isolate those two, and he'll have more power over her. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Good. All right, I think we have another question. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Pollyanna.
Hi.
This is complicated, but I'll try to nutshell it.
Okay.
My oldest daughter is graduating from SMU grad school in May.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And we are going to travel Europe for a month. So a month.
Yeah.
And she's a lovely young lady. I feel like I've done a good job with her. Mm-hmm. But she has a superior attitude. Mm. And sometimes I think that she forgets that it's the sacrifices of her family that she is where she is today. And she makes little comments that I call having a superior attitude. And when she does that, I'm always kind of like, watch yourself, young lady. And I think, we're going to be together for a month. And that's probably the most time that we have spent together in a long time, through, since she graduated from high school. So how do I set a boundary for that, but in a nice and loving way?
Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to say is Christ himself understood that part of loving is being firm. And part of loving is setting strong boundaries. He did some things that were pretty rough, like overturning tables of money and everything else. And so he was not passive in that sense. And I would not be passive in this sense. I would talk to your husband and make sure you guys are aligned. But I would confront her with anything that you interpret as derogatory or taking an arrogant, superior attitude, if you will. And I would be willing to tell her that what she's saying I find offensive, and that I would give her the reason, because I feel like I sacrificed a lot to get you where you are. I taught you to eat. I taught you to use a spoon. I cleaned you up after the first time you learned to go potty. And I deserve better, and so does your dad. I would not tiptoe around that. I wouldn't, if I had to write a letter after the trip so that she could reread it, I would write one. But when my daughters take an attitude that I find somewhat offensive, I'm the first person to say, I taught you how to use a spoon. And I'm the first one that held you when you came out all slimy. And I never want you to forget that. So I think they get it. Sometimes people have bad days, and sometimes they're just feeling, the world's, it's just a fantastic place to be right now. God hasn't really tested her. He's tested you all. Mm-hmm. Your time will come.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, do we have another question? While you're finding somebody, I have a question that was submitted by a 16-year-old. She said, how do I deal with the emotional roller coaster of my father coming back into my life after 16 years of being absent?
Wow. That is really, really tough. And most girls always dream about their dad. What would he really be like? And even if he was absent, that may even fuel the dream even more. And you have a tendency to want it to just, when you're 16, you forget that all things take time. And because, it should be like TV. You see each other and you automatically embrace and it's all okay, but it's not. So I would basically tell her that it's going to take time, that she should go slow, that anyone that avoided her and her family this long was a person that was already not healthy. And so she should not expect a lot. She should give herself permission to be a little angry at him and to want answers. And meet him on a neutral ground and don't give it all away the first time. I would be very hesitant to tell her to just embrace him at this point, because I've seen a lot of backfires. I've been in a session with them, and anybody who's avoided a child that long until they get to be 16, It speaks for itself.
That's good. That's great advice. Denise.
My name is Kimberly.
Hey, Kimberly.
Hi. My husband is a homebody, but he will go out and go to all the events for his family, but he never does for my family. And when he does, he always isolates himself, and they've started to notice it. I didn't know how I should approach it, especially talking to him without, an argument.
Oh, well, you might have to have an argument. But I want to tell you, arguments are good. So many times we shy away from them. But arguments are an opportunity to get closer and to actually deepen the trust and the love you have. Don't ever be afraid of an argument, you guys. If it lasts more than 5 minutes, I'm just going to tell you, it's not worth the win you're going to get. So have a timer, but don't be afraid of it. And always show your children, if you do get in an argument, that you can still love each other. Because kids need to learn, just because you love each other doesn't mean we don't ever fight. I've gone through more divorces with couples who are afraid to fight, that the couple said, we never fought. And I'm like, obviously, you've never talked this stuff out. I would go to him and I would tell him I notice, and how can I help him come into the family more and feel included. My guess is he feels talked about. He probably is. Or he feels like you guys, somebody in the family doesn't like him. It sounds like he may have created that. And maybe they do kind of feel like he's standoffish. I would also talk to one of my favorite sisters or brothers and ask them if they can help him feel more at home there. When I first took my husband to my families, he was terrified. And he was different. There was no doubt about it. So I think he always wanted to be accepted, but he just felt different. And after they got a feel for him after a while, and I started bringing out more his playful side, then they automatically warmed up. You know the side of your husband that your family will accept more. So if you work on bringing those sides out of him more, then they can better accept him. But he's creating the distance that he feels right now. So if he tells you that, if he says, well, I just feel like they don't like me, don't let him off. Say, well, you're making yourself that way. You're making yourself a very unlikable person because you're sitting in a corner and doing your own thing instead of engaging with them. Does his family like you?
Yes.
That's a positive. Good. They'll support you. Just tell his family, tell his mother, or whoever he listens to, that you need him to start opening up in your family more. She'll work on him.
Tattle.
Yeah. She will work on him because moms will do that for daughter-in-laws.
That's exactly right. I always told my daughter-in-law, I got your back.
Yeah. It's true. I have seen it again and again. It's true in Italian families. It's true in German families. It's true in every family. And I use it in therapy. And most men are intimidated with their mother. They'll never say it, but they're kind of nervous around her. Like and if I say, I'm going to tell your mother, or I say to the wife, I want you to tell his mother, she's like, no, that won't be necessary, MaryJo. I'm going to make a change. Like, they really do not want that. So I would go for that. I would try it. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for asking, Kimberly.
That's good. That's great advice. Is there anybody else that has a question? I have one right here that Alina submitted, and she asked, are there any social behaviors that correlate with undealt emotional hurt? Wow.
Any social, like how you would see it?
Alina.
Do you mean how it looks?
How they act in society. How would they perceive themselves and act with other people in society?
Okay, if you're a wallflower, more likely, or you guys know what that means? Like you avoid people, that's a sign. If you're mean or catty or toxic, that's a big sign. If you're an emotional abuser, physical abuser, that's a sign. If you overuse alcohol or food or smoking, that's a sign. The way people, I found the way people dress and talk, I'm pretty observant now, I can usually tell. And people who are real go along, they're usually the ones that don't make any waves. Those people are hurting. Most extremes, if they're extremely quiet or extremely out there, there's something going on. There's a need of something. In fact, when I have someone in my office, the first thing I try to assess is what makes this person tick. What does this person need? And I'll usually ask them to come in with 3 ideas of what makes them feel most loved, and that can teach me a lot. In fact, that's how I would date now. My first date would be a coffee date, and I would never drink because I don't want to blur my thinking. I don't want to do anything I don't want to use any substance. You know, coffee's one thing, they're going to be better off probably, they're going to think better. I want to get at what makes them feel loved. And if you just ask someone that, you'll usually get kind of a superficial question, unless you watch their eyes and you kind of explore it. The eyes never lie. You can just see the truth right in them. But you have to look at their eyes, and most of the time today they're looking at their phone. In fact, I had to make a new rule in my office: no phones in my office. If you have them, you have to silence them, because they're so distracting and they look at them automatically.
Yeah. That's good. Does that help, Alina? Yay. Okay.
That's a really good question. We could go into depth. We could talk 2 hours about that question.
Hi, my name is MaryJo.
Hey, MaryJo.
I was wondering, why do we women have such a difficulty transitioning our hairs to gray? There's good days and there's like really, really bad days, and I don't feel old, but sometimes it's like it'll make me look old. I can't figure that out on my own.
Yeah, to gray hair? Yeah.
Why is it so hard?
Your hair looks kind of pinkish from here because of the light. It's actually really beautiful. I'm like, I don't change the color. I think it's beautiful. I think for women, so much is based on our perception. They've done studies and they asked women, like, as women get older, and I'm talking 40 on, if you could be 10 years younger, or you could be, like, if you could go 10 years younger, would you give up 5 years of your life? And the majority of them said yes. Wow. Which is amazing to me. Like, you would give up 5 years of living to look younger. And when I work with a couple plastic surgeons, because if you get a facelift, when someone gets a facelift, they need to go through, like, they have to have a section of counseling. So they need like an evaluation, just like for the bariatric surgery, they need an evaluation with a psychologist. And one of the questions on there is, you understand that this surgery could kill you. And do you think about that? Is that a worry? And they're like, nope. And I'm like, I would so have like exclamation points there. Yeah, that really bothers me. But they don't. And I think it's just, for some women, that's truer than others. Women who have an easier time with the transition love what they're doing in life. They feel like they're giving back. They feel like they're learning new things. They feel like their mind is youthful. And they haven't been the pretty girl or the woman who was based on her looks all her life. The more focus moms put on daughters being beautiful, like when you meet a mother's daughter and right away they say, oh, they're so beautiful. If the mother goes, if the mother says, oh, thank you, that's a healthy sign. If the mother comes to the friend and says, isn't she beautiful? That's more a stressor that for that mother, she needs that daughter to be beautiful. So when people call their daughters princess, I shy away from that. I've never called my daughters princess, nor have I ever told them they were beautiful until they were much older. Because beautiful is more than just how you look. Beautiful is a presence. You feel it. It's inside the person. It's like a light. And I think what's happened is we have generations of women who have taken so much pleasure from their looks, they never expanded their interests. So if you have a daughter today, I want every one of you moms to focus on their interests. Always tell them, you make me excited because of what you're interested in, what you value in life, not how you look. Because looks, you can change looks. I mean, I work in media. I've seen Jennifer Aniston in New York in a studio, and she is not all that. Everything, I have an app now on my phone that can make us look. I'll show you a picture after this. Basically, you can't wear makeup. You take a picture with this app, and it makes your face beautiful. I did a little test on Instagram. I put the beautiful fake picture up, and they're like, MaryJo, you look beautiful. You look beautiful. And I said, you guys, it isn't real. I don't even have that makeup. It's not me. And you're supposed to say, you know, you always look the same or whatever. And they didn't. They responded to the one that is painted. Wow. In fact, I will show you guys this app. It's $10 a year. You can put it in your phone, and it doesn't matter if you never change your hair. It will make you have. You can put wavy hair. You can put yourself with glasses. It puts your makeup on. Wow. And it's incredible. So I think that has more to do with why some women transition so difficult. Like they see their value in their looks, and that's a dangerous place to put your value. It's good to look good. I think we all need to look as good as we can, but at the same time, it should never take precedence. I'm going to look at how you walk. I'm going to look at your presence. I'm going to look at how you talk. That's what's going to attract me.
Wow.
And when I ask men what attracts them most about women, and you guys, I see mostly single men, because remember, I'm an intimacy sex therapist, they tell me the way she moves, which I find fascinating. Because you would think with media, it's the way she's built, of her face. Not so. It's the way she walks and the way she moves. That's the number one thing. The number two thing were their eyes.
Yes. Yeah. We gave a survey to our men several years back and asked them when did they find their wife most attractive. And one of them was when we're having fun.
Yep.
It wasn't when she was all decked out and, you know, beautified outwardly, but when we're having fun.
It's true. When women say, like, the best thing you can say to your husband isn't like, how can you love me? I'm so frumpy. It's, don't I look sexy? Even if you don't, even if you have jogging clothes on, if you go, don't I look sexy, and feel it, they'll be like, you are hot. Oh, yes, my wife is so hot. I'm looking at her like what? I can't believe this. And it's true.
What was that question that we talked about at the end of, was it last night? About I'm 55 years old.
Oh, just this morning. And I'm feeling really sexy. How do I keep my marriage together? Like, I think that is the question every woman should focus on. I'm 55. I feel really sexy. I'm just trying to keep it in my marriage. And just say it like that. I think that's everything. But we don't have those models. We don't have those mentors. We have mentors who are saying, you're so young, just wait till you're my age. And they put this pout on like, and I'm like, why? You are sexy, you are beautiful. But it's because we feel devalued. And when women say, well, no men ever open the door or look at me anymore, I'm thinking to myself, it's probably your attitude. You know, you have that attitude. I really don't want to open your door either. or anything else. I mean, what are we expecting? People respond to other people being full of love. Basically, if you're a person that carries love and it's in your heart, you are at your very best. You are at your peak of beauty, of sexuality. And I'm one of these women, I was telling Donna we were having this talk. I am not, the whole feminist movement, I'm a feminist in this. I believe in the power. I believe to be a woman, to be feminine, is the greatest power in the world. I don't want to be a guy. I mean, if I if I dress like my husband, I could, but I'm not going to. I mean, I pick out his clothes. I don't want that. I want equality with choices. Yes, some of them, but I'm going to have the children. I want to take my brain chemistry and be allowed to still get an education, work, and get equal pay. But I don't want to become a man. And I want my man to stay a man. But I think he can be a better man if he's given, thank you, if he's given permission to be emotional. I don't want a man who has had to man up or act like a man, and I can no longer talk about what he feels vulnerable about. So I think a lot of dads and moms have to change the way we raise men. Why shouldn't a boy cry if it hurts? Why should his skin and his nerve cells be told, you're a boy, and that's not allowed? You know what's happening? We're getting wounded husbands. We're getting husbands who are afraid to say how they really feel. Men and women are equally smart. It's just that men we're never allowed to say, when you say that, that hurts my feelings. Because they're made to feel stronger than that. And that's why that's why more men say, they're just acting crazy, or it's their time of the month. The reason they say that is because they've never been able to be honest. Like, when you talk like that, you hurt my feelings. When you talk like that, you scare me. When you say things like that, I don't sleep well because I worry that you're going to leave me. Men aren't allowed that. And I don't want to be a guy. I don't want to take over that part of them. So I've always told my husband, listen, how you feel is very important to me. So if you go back into those old tapes you got growing up, that's your stuff to resolve. But as my husband, I want you to be what I see as a real man is an honest person.
That's good.
Who can move my furniture.
Oh, yeah, hello.
That's a real man. I want somebody stronger than me because I'm very weak.
We do have one more question here.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Maria.
Hi, Maria.
So, my husband and I, we got displaced after Hurricane Harvey, and hence why we're in West Texas.
Oh.
We're living with my father-in-law. And for my husband, it's been really hard because, we lost our home. We're staying with his dad. And he has a hard time feeling like he's the provider. And it's been a few months, and I tell him it takes time. Don't let worry and stress overcome you. But of course, sometimes as a wife, it's more like, okay, I know, shush, you know what I mean? So as far as a wife, how can I encourage him, and as a way to where it doesn't sound like I'm nagging, I guess, but just to empower him that, because to me it doesn't matter. I'm with my father-in-law, I'm fine, and I got a revelation recently that as long as we have each other, especially with the hurricane, as long as we have each other and we have health, that's all that really matters. But him as a man, like, he feels like I should have a home for y'all. I should have already done this. Of course it takes time, but.
Yeah, in Maria, that is a real thing. Men who aren't able to provide do feel more depressed and they feel more defeated. So for him, that's a really big deal. But I would when I reassure him, I would just remind him that basically you both are struggling with a little bit of PTSD after that storm. That storm was terrible, and you lost your home. And that was really your place. That was your foundation for your marriage together. So I would just encourage him and say, listen, bad things happen to people. This is a test. And but I believe in you, and you will do it. But you can't stay stuck in a pity party or this negative self-talk. And that's exactly how I would say it. He's finding refuge here. He probably feels like when he goes into that, you're going to come around and encourage him and not blame him. Maybe he's sensing blame where there is none, because it's his stuff going on in his head. The other thing is, I would encourage him to go to counseling. I think that would really help. I've been seeing a lot of families after that storm, and we're seeing the results are not over. I mean, there's, you know, the first couple rains we've had this spring, I had a lot of calls from people who were reliving it. The imagery was scary. And they went to bed and they heard that rain, and it will never be the same symbol. I mean, when you wake up and you have water up to your waist when you get out of the bed, or you can feel the pillow floating, those are real things. And, but overall, I think you guys are doing a great job, and he'll find something, but he needs to work through the stuff he's telling himself. And I'm not sure you can do that. Yeah. I like what you're doing so far, but I think he may need to hear it from an objective outside party.
I think so too. It's like with our children, you know, when we were telling them something, they don't take it in. It's more when somebody else tells them, like, this is the same thing I've been telling you. You know?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that the truth? The wife can say it, and it's just like, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That's good. All right, we're going to take one more question, and that's all. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah. Oh, I think she's got somebody.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a 2.5-year-old, and at home she is so outgoing and just talks 24/7. But around people, she really shuts down. She even will cry when I tell her we're going somewhere. Sorry. She just says, like, are there going to be a lot of people there? So I just was wondering. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're scared,
yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm just pregnant.
Yeah.
So I don't want to push her, like she won't talk to people or look at them. So I don't want to push her too hard, but I want her to be comfortable around people.
Yeah, that's a really good question. 2.5, she's still in the stage where they're developing attachment, secure attachment versus frightening. And so she's just in that place. It's not a big deal, Andy, honestly. I would just go with it. I would preempt it by when you tell her you're going to place, say, are you going to be shy today, or are you going to be Miss Brave? Are you going to be Bonnie Brave or Susan Shy today? And don't put an emphasis on either one. Just name them. If she can name them, then she can start mastering them. And she can decide. The only thing I do want to tell you and warn you about is Bonnie Brave will come out at the worst times. And you will live to maybe regret that. But I think it's worthwhile to help her get through this so she can process it and move through it before the baby, if possible. But kids go back and forth. Also, the trust versus mistrust is not completed until about 3.5, and she's got those two together. So she's trying to figure out who to trust and who not to. So she's just kind of playing shy. That's okay. I mean, it's perfectly normal. I would never push them to socialize until they're in junior high, and then I probably would start having more people over, including my friends, and just introduce them all the time. She's getting what she needs from you, Andy. Or are you Shay? Are you going to be Andy or Shay?
She's Andy Shay.
Okay, Andy Shay.
All right. Well, Hope, did you want to? Well, go ahead and go with your question, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
I have an 11-year-old son that has a father he knows who he is.
Okay.
He's more absent than he is present, but he's recently revealed like some things that had happened in the past when he was around, and Dad.
Negative things?
Yes,
oh,
but
okay.
not like very traumatic, but it was just kind of like oh, I have to tell you something, but don't get mad, and then he revealed what it was or whatever. Well, my question is, there's days where he wants to communicate with him, there's days where he's curious about him, there's days where he could care less if he knew about him, and then it's just whatever. And so what's the best way to handle that, because who knows if Dad will call and say, hey, you know, can I be a part of his life? Which the way I think to do it is, you know, I don't want to, of course I'm going to do it what's in the best interest for him, but I don't know what's the best way to handle that.
Yeah,
since his emotions is like maybe, yes, never, no, and you know, and he's 11 and he's already doing, like, his body's already doing some changes he don't understand, and so he's kind of everywhere with it. Okay. And so I don't know what's the best way to tell him, okay, what do you want to do? How do you want to do? You know,
right?
Not giving it all to him, but not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, my fear is that you don't want to force a relationship. Would your ex do like dad dates, like take his son out like once a month?
If I let him.
If you let him?
Well, it's only because like his visitations are very stipulated.
Oh,
so
okay.
He can't call and say, hey, can I pick him up, because he's been more absent than he's been present. And so like my son doesn't even like to be around that side of the family.
Oh.
So it's like they're all strangers. So because when he goes around that side of the family, everybody's just oohing and awing over him, and he doesn't like that.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a few people that he'll be okay with on that side of the family, but if you even sometimes, if they'll say, okay, well, Grandpa wants to pick you up, well, who's going to be there? Well, I don't want to go because they're going to say this, and I don't want to go because they're going to ask me this. So he would put it like this, as far as Dad would probably, my opinion, because I haven't even spoken to him, would probably be like, hey, if I'm wanting a relationship with him, I'm going to meet him at his level. But I don't want it to be like, okay, if he's willing and then Noah's not, and then force it if he's not, and I don't know where the happy medium is on that. So. What
I would do is, Noah's old enough now to know that you could interject the idea if you felt safe with it. Mm-hmm. You know, if you would like, I can see if Dad will do like a dad date with you, and you can write all your questions down. And if you decide that day that it's not going the way you thought and you don't want to ask him, just call me and I'll come and pick you up. But if you do want to ask him some questions, so they'll just, you know, like I encourage a lot of dads to go on dates with their kids, especially if they're working a lot, so that they have time one-on-one and they learn how to be at their child's level. If he's abusive, then I would insist that I was there or someone was there watching.
Okay.
So it'd be great if the dad could come home to your house and have like coffee or something while you're there. And Noah could be in charge of asking questions or not. Because I'm trying to give some control back to him so he feels like he's part of this relationship if he wants it. But he might just be in that stage where he's idealizing things and a fantasy. But I always think that it's good if a child can know their real parent, if it's possible. Okay?
That's awesome. Wow, do you feel blessed? Don't you love her?
I feel blessed. I feel very blessed.
Well, give us any last-minute thoughts that you have for us.
I just feel so grateful to be here, you guys. There is very little on my calendar I would ever put before you guys coming in whatever capacity that ever happens. And I just want you to know you've got something really special here. I don't know if you can feel it, but coming from the outside, it's different than any parish I have ever seen or witnessed in my life. And I hope you can keep that blood and that value and joy here. And I hope you will all use me, because you will never be able to say, I didn't know a therapist I could talk to. Because now we're all witness. You have been enlightened, and I have offered you to write to me, and I have meant it. So you have one therapist who you can ask. And from there, I probably will not be able to do your therapy, but we will together find someone who can. I was just telling Denise, I don't know a lot of the therapists here. I'll have to, because most of the connections I had, remember, were in 2003. That's a long time ago. So, but it's pretty easy to find good, reputable people.
Well, thank you, MaryJo, and thank you for coming. Give her a great big hand. Yeah. So we're honored that you're here, and be sure to check out her website and go read her articles. And
And follow, just follow, so I can, when you guys write to me, I can say, oh my God, they're from Lubbock, I know them. And it just makes it all better, you know.
Well,
we're family.
We are, and we sure do love you. And we're going to cook up something in the future. I'm just going to throw it out there, because sometimes if I throw it out there, then I'm held to it. But we're going to cook something up in the future. Don't know when. Doing maybe a very intimate setting of sex and intimacy.
Yes,
and you would choose to be there. So if you're not interested in that, or you feel uncomfortable with somebody, you know, talking pretty, you know, straightforward and blunt about it, then don't come. But if you and your husband are really interested in it, and even you know, our daughters.
Yes.
We were just talking about how, you know, moms are afraid to talk to their daughters about it. They don't know how to talk to their daughters about it.
Right.
And but I think it needs to be taught, because it's very sacred, and it's very godly, God ordained. And so I don't know when, but we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
So we'll let those of you who are interested know, and if you're not, no problem.
The biggest reason to talk to your children is you are the best teacher of your values. And if you don't talk to your kids, think about it. They're going to hear it from other kids who don't hold your values. And they're going to hear it from a teacher who is overstressed, overworked, and really shouldn't be teaching your child sexual education. That should come from the home. That should come from the mother. You taught them how to eat with a spoon. You should teach them about their changing body and about their sexuality, so they can keep it sacred and keep it in line with what's in their best interest instead of someone else's.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, Sherry's got a couple quick announcements. Thank you guys again so much for sharing your life and your weekend with us and Mary Jo.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, I've really been blessed. How about you guys? Let's give her a hand. This was an awesome, awesome spring event. I mean, I had no questions before you got here. Donna was always in my face with the camera, and I was like, I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't know. And then when you get here, I'm like, okay, what about this? Okay, what about that? And everybody else too. So, I mean, take her up on her offer. I think I'll gather some stuff for you too. So I wanted to say once again, we have a photo booth out there, and this is your opportunity to get in that photo booth with your friends and these ladies who love you and care about you, and get some pictures, and be sure and hashtag Pink Flamingle 2018, so we can put them all together and go and look and see what we did.
Is this on Instagram, or which media outlet are you?
I think we usually use Facebook and Instagram.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
But you don't, Twitter?
No.
I don't do Twitter.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
Daphne doesn't.
That's for all the young people, and
And
you,
the tech
and
people.
obviously you.
Okay.
Oh, and Daphne too. Yeah.
Daphne, my sister.
Okay, and then also, I hope that you remember you may have won some auction items. So hopefully we have a slide, and these are people. Look at these numbers. These are the people that actually won some auction items. So what you'll need to do, and let's see my number, what you need to do is you need to go out there to the cash out table, and they're going to let you know what, say, number 110-1, and then you can pay out and pick up all your good prizes that you wanted. So do that before you leave. Also, this is a church, so we like to have church on Sunday morning. So we invite you to come back tomorrow morning at 10:30 and really experience the presence of God here, because I've been doing this 21 years here, and I haven't left. I like it. Also, Mary Jo's book table. If you didn't get to win one, you can certainly buy one. And she was signing them last night, so that's awesome to get a signature in the book too. And what else? I just want to thank you hostesses that worked so hard. Even if you didn't win a prize, listen, you are awesome. You are awesome. I know these ladies that sat at your table thought so too. So that was really it. I don't want to keep you. Thank you so much for coming. We do this all the time. We have gatherings. Come on, get involved. We love you. All right? Thank y'all.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Okay.